Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. And we are back again for Squid Games. And we are going to do episode 4, Stick to the Team. Let's just get into it. We went from 187 players to 97 players. No, actually no. We had 187 players and 97 were eliminated from the last game. Again, enough of the bloodbaths. But then we were notified that the winning prize has went up to 7.9 billion won, which is $7.9 million. When you look at it, that's not a lot of money for these people to be killing themselves for. I mean, 7 million is a lot. I mean, that's more than any of us on here. But still, like, you'll think after, like, losing your life or people losing their life, you'll think, I don't know, I think make it at least a billion. Or close to a billion, like $500 million. Because if 97 people are, you know what, I'm going off topic. So that's when this round of refreshments, because then, they feed them after every game. This round of refreshments was a hard-boiled egg and 1 bottle of soda. So this round was the round of refreshments this time was 1 hard-boiled egg and 1 soda. And then, so we had 101 in his gang, along with 212, and they went back in line for seconds, because after they ate the first round, they were hungry, and that's when 212 told them, like, we could just cut the line and just get a second serving, which they did, and then somebody snitched, and it was just not pretty because they prepared exactly the amount of food for the people, and 212 and 101 snitch. So the person who said that his group ate already, like, he was angry and he yelled at 101, and what 101 did was he literally beat that man to death. Like, he literally beat him to death, and then everyone was in shock. And then when they saw that, the number just went clink. I was like, oh, okay. Once that happened, Gi-hoon started acting like a white lady, and he was like, you guys didn't see this? He just killed him. Take him out. Take that thug. And I was like, Gi-hoon, I'm going to need you to remember where you at. No one's here to help you yet. So then, that's when we realized we had a player who was secretly... He was a doctor in the outside world, so they secretly told him what the games were through his meals. So then they had him dissect the players who were killed in battle. And this is how they did it. I noticed that when a player is eliminated, if they're completely no heartbeat, out of breath, burn them. But then when there's a player that's fighting for life, they will mark them with their blood of cross and then put it in the incinerator, but it does not burn. It will drop the body and then burn an empty space. And then they will take that body, take the person out, and then slice them open and harvest their organs. So I genuinely thought that was part of the whole Squid Games, we're realistically taking the people and we're just dissecting them. Or I genuinely thought maybe the people who were eliminated on their license or ID, they were organ donors, so they were just following their wishes. That's the only way I could think of it. I assumed that. I was like, okay, I mean, for a morbid game, at least they have morals. So then, that's when that was happening. And then when he gets as soon the guy dissects the bodies, they let him know what's the next game. Keep that in mind for the future reference. They tell him what's the next game. But mind you, in the last game, he wasn't doing well. Even though he said he was fighting for his life, he really wasn't doing well. And they strategically placed them in the winning team. So keep that in mind. After they ate the egg and the soda, that was actually part of a surprise game. So in this... almost shook up the studio. So in the surprise game, what they would do is they were basically starving the players. So they eat 1 egg and a soda. They'll starve the players to the point that they'll be mad. They'll go mad and they'll go crazy. And then once they go crazy, they're going to turn off the lights and then turn it into a surprise game because they know that everyone's already angry and mad at each other. They're going to fight to death. And that's exactly what happened. They turn off the lights and then everyone went to sleep. As soon the lights cut off, that's when the head honcho, front man, the surveillance pink suits literally said that the games begin and turn on some freaky flashing lights. 101 wasted no time, and he went to the lady that snitched with his broken soda bottle, and he eliminated her. He eliminated her good. And then chaos ensued during the surprise game, and then it turned out 27 players were eliminated after this. It was a dark, dark night, literally and figuratively. And one thing to note, player one, everyone's bed was like shaking and panicking and just dropping players to the floor to fight to the death. Player one was strategically placed in a bed that was not manipulated from the surveillance crew because he usually sleeps in the bed next to Gi-hoon and Sung-woo and atop of Ollie. But this night, he was not there. And if you notice, like, play it back, you'll see how Gi-hoon was looking for player one. They call him Sir or like the Sergeant because they made their teams in the last episode. And he was nowhere to be found. But when the games ensued, he was the one that low-key ended the game because he was telling everyone, like, stop killing each other, stop fighting. And then that's when the front man said, end the game. So keep that in mind because that was unique. And the fact that our old man made it this far past 2 games, okay. But his excuse is he played these games as a small child. Okay. So then once we found out the new toll of players, the amount increases. Whenever a player is eliminated, they drop money in this golden big round piggy bank. And it's kind of dark and twisted because as soon a person's heartbeat stops, money goes into the pit. And it just ensues for everyone to want to go crazy. It's insane. So then we get to a scene where the scene is over and then now everyone's like back to living in the bunks. And then we get 212 slinging her puss to get an advantage in the Squid Games. I was kind of disgusted. She was slinging her puss during these tough times and she slinged it to 101 tiger face. I mean snake tattoo. I sat there and I was like, now why is this on my screen? Like, I was watching it, the whole scene was just, why? I was like, girl, you think that's going to give you an advantage? To what? To what? Child, I knew that locker stall smelled like Badussy. So then the third game resumes, and then they had to pick 10 members per team. And it was kind of crazy because people were picking their teams, not knowing what the next game was going to be. And then that's when we found out that 212 and 101 showmance quickly ended because 101 did not pick her. Snakeface said, Miss Ma'am, thank you for your puss, but I don't need you. And she was just distraught and trying to find a team. It was hikey annoying. And then fast forward, we get Gi-hoon, who chooses to make a team with him, Ollie, Sung-woo, player one. Surprisingly, yeah, player one was with them. And then another man. So it was Gi-hoon, Sung-woo, Ollie, player one man, another man, and then 67 joined. You know, Miss Pickpocketer, she joined, and then she brought another alt, what do you call those? Like alt emo girl. I think she's 243. I don't remember her number. 243 or 244. And then we get what's her face. 212 joins, and then a religious guy. A religious man joined. I'll never forget. A religious man joins the team. So it was 3 random guys that really didn't matter and a religious man. They joined and it was Tug of War. But this tug of war had a twist because, again, every game we get people eliminated. You'll think, okay, they tug and the team's over. No, it was tug of war on a they were like 300 feet up in the air. I'm gonna say it was high up in the air. They were tug of war high up in the air, and then the losing team will get they had their chains to the tug of war rope, and then they'll fall over. And then while they fall over, they're all hanging. An axe will come and chop the rope, and then the team's eliminated. So we begin with the first round with 101's team against another miscellaneous team that's really not important to the story, and they won. Then we get to Gi-hoon's team. They were so concerned because they just thought they weren't gonna make the strength or whatever. And here we go. Of course, we get player one giving us gems on how to win the tug of war. And we can't let our good old favorite old man die. So the team was in the lead until the opposing team started picking up, because one of the advice that player one gave was to keep the rope under your armpit and then lean back. Keep your feet wide apart and lean back. That way it creates a force where they can't even pull you. And then for 10 seconds, it'll mess up with their psyche and wonder if you guys are too strong. And then once the 10 seconds is up, then you lean, pull, push back with your knees to yank on them, and then you pull. And it was working. It was working. I was so impressed. This episode was so good. And then that's when the other team started picking up and they were pulling them back. So then I felt like Yoo-hoon's team was about to lose. I was like, oh, okay. And then that's when Sungwoo had the tactic, we're going to do a little two-step. We're going to move forward 2 steps so they could trip, and then we yank them water on the floor to their death. And people were scared. 212, of course, 212, she was just screaming. She was yelling, and it was are you crazy? Are you insane? And then he says, trust me. And then he was on my mark, Hana just said, and then episode ends. Whoo! I'm going to rate this episode an A+. It had me at the edge of my seat. I think this is one of my favorite games, of the Squid Games. That was it brought back memories when we played Tug of War in elementary, and you really think you're making a difference when you're really not. I genuinely believe I was not making a difference. As I'm pulling that rope. Ooh, episode gets an A+. It had me on the edge of my seat, and it was a cliffhanger. So yeah. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think of this game. And so far, which game is your favorite? And I know you guys like to spoil. So which of the 6 games is your favorite? Drop a comment. And remember, put spoilers so, our other lovelies don't have to know. Take care.